Hey everyone, Captain Sean here with a special Boy Meets World Top 10 video for you all. Now, I'll admit, I do get requests from people from time to time to discuss my thoughts on certain TV shows and topics related to those shows, but the number one thing I've gotten the most requests to do is a Top 10 Boy Meets World episodes list, and my thoughts on specific episodes. Now at first, I considered making a top 10 list to just be too difficult. Not only are there simply so many good episodes of Boy Meets World to choose from, but the factors that make a Boy Meets World episode good greatly differ episode by episode. Or to be more specific, some episodes are very good because of how super silly they are, while other episodes are very good because of how seriously dramatic they are. But how do you judge the quality of comedy in one episode over the quality of drama in another? Well, I've decided to not do that. Instead of a simple top 10 Boy Meets World episode list, I'll instead be making a top 10 silliest Boy Meets World episodes list and a top 10 serious Boy Meets World episodes list, with the former list being what we'll be doing today. Now, I'll admit, even making a top 10 list that only looks at one factor of what made Boy Meets World entertaining is gonna be really hard to do. There are still a huge number of very funny Boy Meets World episodes, and there are definitely hundreds, if not thousands of individual hilarious moments in the series. But this list isn't about the rest. This is the top 10 best, silliest Boy Meets World episodes ever. And now we'll start with number 10, Corey's Alternative Friends. In just the fourth episode of the entire series, we got a very hilarious story that introduces us to the series' most prominent female character, Topanga. Later episodes would tell us that Corey and Topanga had already known each other for years, but this was the first time viewers saw Corey and Topanga together. Their interactions between each other make this episode very, very funny. Not just because they're a boy and girl who don't see eye to eye, but because Topanga in this episode acts as a complete contrast to Corey's view of what makes a person normal. However, that very concept is what the episode plays around with. Upon messing up his hair in a pretty crazy scene, Corey now feels like an outcast, so he finds himself only able to find acceptance amongst other outcasts, Topanga and her friends. Now this results in some odd humor.
Every day you come to school with a cape. What's the deal with the cape? What cape?
But it also results in Corey and Topanga finding common ground, which begins their relationship that will become a cornerstone of the series. And this very special and very important relationship that becomes a cornerstone of the entire series all starts with an incredibly goofy scene at the end of the episode.
You're not gonna, kiss me now, are you?
Would it be your first kiss?
Hey, don't come near me.
Because it would be interesting if all your life you remembered that your first kiss happened when you thought you looked weird. Wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't be interesting. Get away.
Because then you'd know. It's not what you look like on the outside that matters. It's what kind of person you are.
You shouldn't kiss somebody you're not married to.
Yeah, I would have to feel I really knew the person. And that I liked him.
Good.
Number 9, Last Tango in Philly, a much later entry in the series. At this point in the show, Corey and Sean now have girlfriends, Topanga and Angela respectively. However, the two aren't being the best boyfriends in this episode. Topanga and Angela, starting in this episode, are revealed to have jobs, which is important to do when you have to save up for college. But Corey and Sean view Topanga and Angela working at their jobs and actually becoming friends with their male coworkers as a very negative thing. Thus, they become very jealous. Meanwhile, all of the other men in the show have not been very considerate enough to their ladies lately.
So then what happened?
Well, I just don't get Lucy, you know? I call her up. She says she's sick in bed and chicken soup will make her feel better. I said it probably would. Then I went bowling. Now she's mad at me.
The complete inability for the men in the episode to not be able to realize the basics of how to be considerate to a lady is very funny to watch. The men aren't being rude in the episode, they just don't realize how to please the women in their lives. Which results in Eric making a realization near the end of the episode that gets a positive response from all of the female members of the real-life studio audience.
Okay, I've been silent long enough. Guys, I've been working on a theory. Men are idiots. What? No, wait, there's more. All right, there it is. Men are big idiots.
But however, everything works out in the end when the men at the very end of the episode break out into a huge musical dance number, the only time the show has ever done something like this, which woos and wins back all of their ladies. There isn't a strong moral message in this episode other than simply be kind and considerate to women, but as a half hour of really goofy entertainment, this is really solid material. Number 8. Me and Mr. Jode. In this Season 2 episode of Boy Meets World, the 7th grade students become completely fed up and tired of taking tests in school, and when they don't get their way, they launch a huge protest. The beginning of the story kind of acts as the ultimate fantasy many kids in the school have. What if the students began a revolution against the teachers? And the way the show portrays it is completely hysterical.
Look for the union label if you are buying a good dress or clothes. Remember somewhere our union's growing, our wages going to be the kids. What are we? We are kings! And what do kings say? They say no more macaroni.
No more macaroni!
We want steak!
We want steak!
And what do we want with our steak?
Macaroni!
But then the fantasy is hit with cold reality in that this level of delinquency would never be allowed in any school. But we get that realization done in still a very highly comedic way with the method that Mr. Feeney uses to confront the student protesters.
All right, this is your warden speaking. So, you want to play rough with George Feeney? Here's a doozy. The entire football season.
Oh, no.
Canceled.
But that means...
Yes, Mr. Hunter. No cheerleaders.
Sean! It's a strike. We have to make sacrifices.
But he's taking my girls. Why can't we just sacrifice you?
However, all of this comedy does result in an actually solid, serious message, in that while protesting is a right that all Americans have, you need to realize that you can't just hold a protest for every tiny little problem. Protesting for freedom, equality, and pushing for serious change in a flawed government is important. But protesting over wanting to have a more comfortable life when you already have a comfortable life might not be the best choice.
You're just kids. You're in school. Your parents make you lunch. You're not a migrant farm worker picking grapes. Okay? You're just kids. You sleep on sheets with little dinosaurs.
Rocket ships.
Overall, it's a very silly episode that leads into a pretty solid, serious message, something that Boy Meets World was always very good at.
Well, Mr. Turner, I must admit, they sound as if they actually know the material.
Yeah. And we found that out without giving them a test.
Oh? You don't call what they just went through a test?
I'd call it a learning experience, Mr. Feeney.
Number 7. Danger Boy. In this much later episode of Season 2, Corey is starting to feel like he's playing life too safe, and that's resulting in people not considering him a daring, adventurous person. Coincidentally, Mr. Feeney is actually feeling the same way, which results in something that almost never happens in the series. Mr. Feeney deciding to do something very crazy with Corey. Now, the show before this episode always felt very grounded in reality, but then for the first time ever, the show started to feel like it was taking place in a more exaggerated, silly world when this crazy scene near the end of the episode came along.
In just a few moments, Adventure Park, right here in Philadelphia, opens what they claim to be the most terrifying amusement park attraction ever created. The Last Ride. The park vows to open the ride as scheduled, despite vigilant protests from parents' groups, clergymen, and NASA engineers. Who would be foolhardy enough to step inside this bullet car for a 90-mile-an-hour spine-shattering blast straight into the heart of terror?
Hello.
I'm going! Back to 10, Mr. Sulu!
There isn't much of any life lesson in this episode, but the simple wackiness of the story combined with the actors' silly performances, most notably William Daniels, who gets really goofy for once, is a ton of fun to watch.
Is it back?
Okay, light that candle!
Number 6. Chick Like Me. In one of the later high school episodes of Boy Meets World, the students have recently read the book Black Like Me, a story about a white man who disguises himself as a black man to better understand what it's like to be black. But then in what could be considered both brilliant and insane, Corey and Sean decide to write their own similar book, Chick Like Me, in which they plan to disguise themselves as girls and see what it's like to live life as a female. Now, you know seeing Corey and Sean dress up as girls is going to be very funny, but the very build-up we get to it before it even happens is completely hilarious by itself.
You know, every day I ask you, what did you do? And every day you tell me nothing. Well, I'm tired of nothing. I mean, we both know something happened today, and I want to know what it is.
I decided to be a girl.
Well, you taught me a very valuable lesson there, son.
But then, just the way their change in appearance and identity changes the way they see themselves is also very funny to watch.
I knew it. I look fat.
Now there still is some solid story material here. When Sean, while in disguise as a girl, gets mistreated by a boy, it does highlight some very good social commentaries. But even in the midst of the serious bits, this episode never stops being very, very hilarious.
How you doing, honey?
I'm Cora. I'll be your waitress this evening.
Number 5. The Thrilla in Phila. Going back to Season 2 yet again, we have another very funny episode. The school wrestling team needs a new member for their underweight division. Corey, being very small and underweight at this point in the series, is asked to join the team. Now this at first results in Corey starting to get very overconfident in himself, now that he is essentially a sports star without actually doing anything. But then when he actually has a challenger take him on, Corey surprisingly wins in a fair match against him. But then Corey's opponent challenges Corey to a rematch in unfair territory, resulting in one of the craziest scenes we had ever gotten in the series up to this point. Now, the episode Danger Boy with its goofy roller coaster scene was crazy and over the top, but this truly was the first time in the show's history we got a scene that was completely 100% over the top, unrealistic, and super silly. And that's the scene where we find out this underground 7th grade wrestling match is being watched by a huge number of spectators and is being hosted by famous singer Robert Goulet with special guest worldwide wrestling star Vader, who is even unfairly tagged in to start fighting Corey, or actually Corey's brother Eric, who somehow gets mixed into the match.
Hey, pal! You can't do that to my brother!
And then this somehow results in Mr. Feeney jumping into the match. Yeah, this episode is just insane. There is a loose message in the episode about being true to yourself, but considering the episode ends with famous singer Robert Goulet being invited in to sing to the 7th grade students who are in detention, you know this episode was designed to be just silly and nothing else.
I want to see some smiling faces. I can spot some laughter through those tears.
Number 4. Cutting the Cord. Now in this episode that takes place during the second to last season, Corey and Topanga are trying to get Sean and Angela back together, since they had broken up a few episodes prior. The story is pretty simple at first, but then all of the characters end up at a karaoke club, and the parts at the karaoke club are actually the main reason why this episode is on this list. Now while they're having a friendly karaoke competition at the club, the other couples sing at first some very nice romantic ballads, most notably Angela and the current guy she's dating, Ron. So when it's Corey and Topanga's turn to sing, Corey realizes that in order to win the karaoke contest, he and Topanga will have to sing the most dramatic, most powerful, and most romantic song ever made, which is followed by this.
Great. Are you sure this is the right song for us?
Topanga, you heard Angela and Ron. Now, if we want to win this, we must sing something dramatic.
I know. I just don't think this is the right song for us.
You want to win or not?
Yes, I want to win. I just don't think that you and I are the right people to express this particular sentiment.
Topanga, it's a beautiful song. And we're going to sing it. Hit it, Captain Randy.
Say it again.
War!
Good God, you all.
This is all a big joke to you, right, Topanga?
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. Say it again.
War! What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. Say it again.
War! What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. Say
Sing
it
it,
again.
Topanga, sing it. I don't like the war. War's not good.
No more.
No more war, Topanga. I'll tell you why. I'm gonna cry. We don't like war. Not you or you. Or I. I've got to run because I don't like war.
Number 3, His Answer and Her Answer, the two-parter that started off the second to last season of this amazing show. The story starts out with a huge moment in Boy Meets World history. Topanga has just asked Corey to marry him, and after a moment of thought, Corey of course says yes. Now, this episode is actually very dramatic and deep at times, with many thought-provoking questions that are brought up. And those thought-provoking questions are not brought up by just Corey and Topanga, but by the other characters as well. Questions that include, even though you can get married legally at 18, is it truly right to do so? But then this is perfectly balanced with comedic dialogue that revolves around the concept as well.
Have you thought of the responsibilities you're going to have?
No, they haven't. They haven't thought of anything.
Okay, Angela, let's just stay out of this.
No, these are our friends. How can you let them ruin their lives?
They're not like us. They're hopelessly in love. And so are we. So are we. You two got married when you were my age, right? I was a dope. I take that back.
But at the same time, a whole other plot begins to brew. Eric and Jack now have space in their apartment for a new roommate. And thus, enter Rachel, a young woman who has just broken up with her ex-fiancé and has nowhere to live now. So she temporarily lives with Eric and Jack, resulting in the beginning of the most hilarious love triangle comedy scenes ever made on television.
Me rest with you? Oh, God, no, my girl.
Whoa!
I am one big old girl.
Yeah, that's right. She's sitting on me, man.
It could be that the comedy in this episode gets bonus points for being juxtaposed a very dramatic plot, but there is some very solid comedy that is constantly spread out through this very entertaining two-parter.
We have to support Corey and Topanga and accept this marriage. We can't push them out of our lives like we push them to elope. They love each other and they belong together. Just like me and Rachel.
Who's Rachel?
She's my beautiful new roommate, Angel. She's back at the apartment right now with Jack. Oh, no. Wait, what if they hit it off and she cheats on me? A trip, man. You need to get back and start slapping some people around.
Number 2, And Then There Was Sean. Oh my goodness, I know people would tear me apart if I didn't put this episode high on the list. It's the episode many fans have either dubbed the Scream episode, the horror movie parody, or simply the one where everyone goes nuts. In this story that's later revealed to be, spoiler, all a dream, the young characters are locked inside a school and are being killed one by one. But rather than play this even remotely dramatically, it's all done in a very over-the-top comedic style.
We'll always remember he was that tall.
Oh, my gosh! They killed Kenny!
The episode references many horror movies and cartoons, and really plays a lot with the cliches from those genres.
Hello?
Do you like scary movies? What's your favorite?
Ooh, okay. Well, I like that one with the hottie hot hot from Party of Five.
Please, we can use the phone to help us.
That's a great idea because when we find out who the killer is, we can hit him with this.
Dun dun dun.
Now, it's not absolutely certain, but some sources say that this episode originally, while it was still going to end as just a dream, was actually originally going to be a little more deadpan serious. But as the tale goes, that while actually filming the episode, the teenage actors just went completely nuts and started going way over the top with both exaggerated line delivery and improv nonsensical dialogue and actions.
There's like 15 retainers in there!
But rather than redirect the actors towards their more desired outcome, the directors and producers simply decided, if you can't beat them, join them. Let's just roll with what they're doing. And it's pretty easy to believe that story. This episode is fueled by just how insane the actors get, and just the way they deliver some of the wackiest dialogue they've ever said in the show. This is a silly episode you will never forget.
Eric! Oh, he was my friend. My roommate. I didn't really know her. He paid half the rent. Now I can't afford to live in my apartment anymore. Wait, if I can't afford to live in my apartment anymore, then I don't want to live.
Wait! Sean is still your roommate. Together, you can make the rent.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's go back inside now.
And finally, number 1. They're killing us. After a year-long engagement, in the final season of Boy Meets World, we finally get Corey and Topanga's wedding. But it's not the wedding episode that's hilarious, it's the wedding planning episode. Since the writers knew that this would be the only time in the show's history that they would have the opportunity to showcase Corey and Topanga getting ready to be married, they milk every joke possible out of the wedding planning antics. But the funniest set of scenes by far is when Corey has to pick the best man for his wedding, resulting in a hilarious series of antics that reveals why Corey's brother Eric is definitely the worst choice for best man.
So don't you want somebody who's strong enough to lift you up for the traditional For He's a Jolly Good Fellow dance?
I've actually never heard of the For He's a Jolly Good Fellow dance.
Oh, here, I'll show you.
No, I'd prefer that you
No, you're gonna...
No, Eric,
you're gonna know for the
He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Look, it's happening!
Eric, look what you did! Eric!
The curtain's on fire. The curtain's on fire. They're chopping up the dorm room. They're chopping up the dorm room. My brother is a moron, which nobody can deny.
We would like your brother to be your best man.
This is the eternal flame of the love of the Matthews.
He's out! Sean's in!
Somebody save the baby! Somebody save the baby!
Sparklers are fun.
And so there you go, the top 10 silliest Boy Meets World episodes. However, this series wasn't all silliness all the time. It could also get very serious as well, which we'll be looking at in the top 10 serious Boy Meets World episodes list that'll be coming soon.